Hi there, I thought I should do another video updating the calendar of the solar eclipses and blood moons that are happening from the period of 2022 through to 2025. They run for a 4-year consistency about every 6 months, either on the Lord's feast or on significant dates. So just to bring you up to date, last year, 2022, we had a solar eclipse followed by a blood moon, and that was on the 30th of April, and the blood moon was on the 16th of May. That was on the second Passover. And it says if you're not in the land, or if you're unclean or on a journey, then you're not to observe the first Passover, but to do it the month following, which is the second Passover. So we're on a journey, we're not in the land, so we observe, for us, this generation now, unless you're in the land, the second Passover. So this is the generation that he is now acknowledging and calling, because both 2022 and 23, there's a blood moon on second Passover. So that's definitely worth noting. Last year, we had a solar eclipse and then a blood moon on the 8th of November. What happened on that date is we had the world religious leaders meet at Mount Sinai, and they signed off their own commandments, 11 of them. So they are absolutely wishing to cancel Yah's commandments and to set their own rules. So this is where we're at, this is what's happening. And obviously it's significant because there was a blood moon on that date. So that's what happened last year. 2023, this year, 20th of April, we had a solar eclipse followed by the 5th of May. In New Zealand, it's going to be on this Friday night, and which is also the same date as, again, the second Passover. So he's, again, calling us to watch. And to remain in him, because all these things are happening. Another thing that's also happening on the second Passover on Friday, New Zealand time, is King Charles III is going to be inaugurated. I don't know if you're aware, but King Charles III has announced that he will no longer be a defender of the faith, but a defender of faiths. So not the faith, but faiths, which is a violation of his own oath of allegiance, taken at St James Castle shortly after his mother's death. So it's a violation of the oath of allegiance that all members of Parliament and members of legislation, assembly, officers, mayors, all council members, everybody who is required to take an oath in accordance with the Federal Oath of Allegiance Act is bound and obligated to prove the Westminster Statute of 1931 with reference to any alteration of the Royal Styles and Titles Act. And all the Commonwealth nations involved. So any contract that has been formed with any of these parties to the Crown, it's null and void, because it was made on the oath of the 1611 King James Bible from Queen Elizabeth. And if he's reneged on that, it's treason as it is, all those contracts are now null and void. So it's very interesting things that are happening. Then in October, the 14th, we're going to have a dark moon. A solar eclipse on the 14th of October, followed by on the 28th a dark moon. So we need to watch those dates. Sukkot, the Feast of Trumpets, is the 15th of September, and then followed by Sukkot on the 29th of September, so it's a month earlier. So something significant will happen like it did last year on either the 14th or the 28th of October. So just watch those dates. Following year, the 24th of 2024, we have a solar eclipse on the 8th of April. But preceding that is a blood moon. See, the first 2 years we had solar eclipse and then the blood moon. The next 2 years, the blood moon comes first, followed by a solar eclipse, which is actually very unusual. When you look back through the history, if you go onto sites that tell you when these things will be, it's nearly always a solar eclipse and then a blood moon. But anyway, it switches, and there's a mirroring effect that happens for the last 2 years. And that's one of the mirrors, is that it switches from the solar eclipse to blood moon first. So on the blood moon of the 25th of March next year, 2024, that date is Adar the 14th. It's the Hebrew month of Adar, which is the last month of the year, and the 14th day of it, which is Purim. It's exactly on Purim, the blood moon. It's fascinating. And then you've got the solar eclipse, which is the new year, Feast of Nisan, which is the 8th of April. Then, when you go 6 months from there, you've got a blood moon on the 18th of September, followed by the Feast of Trumpets on the 2nd of October, is the solar eclipse. So when they actually fall on Yah's feast dates, I believe that is more significant. Like it happened on the 2 Passovers, and now we're going to Trumpets. It's significant that the blood moon is also on Purim, but it's not Yah's feast date. It's just a time of remembrance of Esther, the book of Esther, Queen Esther. Basically, the story of Purim in a nutshell is when the gallows are made for God's people. However, the creator of the gallows gets hung up in them. So it's the time that those that come against the righteous actually get rounded up and persecuted. So it's interesting that that's when the blood moon is, on 2024. Again, the following year, 2025, we start with the solar eclipse. Oh no, sorry, I beg your pardon. We start with the blood moon and then it goes to solar eclipse. So the blood moon is on the 14th of March. Again, Purim. It's on Adar the 14th, the exact day of Purim. So there's 2 years in a row that the blood moons are on Purim, 2024 and 2025. Then we go to the blood moon on the 7th of September, followed by the solar eclipse on the 21st, which is Trumpets, Feast of Trumpets. The Feast of Trumpets, which is also the first of Tishri in Yah's calendar, was the old New Year. It was the day of the New Year before the Exodus, when they came out. It's read in the book of Exodus where the Father says to Moses, now for you, this will be the New Year, which was Nisan, which was our March, April time. Before then, it was Trumpets. It was the first of Tishri, which is 6 months earlier or later. So that's very significant. It's also the time that Yahushua HaMashiach was born. I spent about 2.5 years writing a book called I, Mary, and through that I went through so much to discover and to learn and to trace back and to research when he actually was born. And it came to the Feast of Trumpets, 3 BC, which is actually the 9th of September, 3 BC. And I've had that confirmed by many others since then. So interesting that he came on the 1st of Tishri, which is the Feast of Trumpets. And personally, I believe he's going to return then, because everything happens in patterns. It's circular. Things repeat. They go around and around and around. So like his calendar, things happen on these specific dates. So it's just interesting. The Feast of Trumpets is the solar eclipses, and Purim, 2 years in a row, are the blood moons. It's judgment to the unrighteous, and it's his returning coming. And I think the thing is with all of this, it's good that these are happening accurately on dates, but it's all about the season that we're in. We know the season that we're in because he is telling us and shining his lights in the sky and giving us these warnings and these insights. So as he says, look up, your redemption is nigh. It is nigh. So I just want to go over a couple of patterns. The first 2 years, it begins with the solar eclipse and then blood moon. The last 2 years, it begins with the blood moon and followed by a solar eclipse. And that happens twice in every year. The other pattern is the middle 2 years, 2023 and 2024, the blood moon isn't the same type of a blood moon as what it was in 2022 and 2025. They are a traditional blood moon. The ones in 2023 and 2024 are different. They're called a dark blood moon. So it's just interesting that on the outside you've got these traditional blood moons, and then the inside years you've got a dark blood moon. What they actually are, how it manifests in the sky, I'm not sure. However, I do remember last October time looking up at it, and it was like a finger going over the moon and then coming back again. It's just really interesting to watch. So that's where we're at. There is a middle point in these two sets of 2 years, and that's Hanukkah at the end of this year. The date for Hanukkah is the 7th to the 15th of December. And that's the time, as we go back through the book of Maccabees with the Maccabee revolt. They weren't actually Hebrews, the Maccabees. I forgot which nation they are now. I'll have to look it up. But, they might have been Sumerians, or something like that. I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up. But or it will be on my Maccabees reading. But they kept the Lord's ways and the Torah. And when Antiochus Epiphanes went through Jerusalem and the land of Israel, most of the people assimilated to their ways, which is, Greek at that time. It was a Greek revolt. But not the Maccabees. And through persistence and through prayer and through strategy, they won back the land and put the menorah back in place. And it was very victorious. So it's fascinating that is the centre point there of this reflection, where it goes in and then it sort of comes out. So I just wanted to give you an update. As things trundle along, things become clearer in this patterning. And it's interesting, after 2025, there's no blood moons or solar eclipses for quite some time, from what I have found. I went years ahead and I couldn't find any. So praise his name, because his signature and fingerprint is all over this. And worthy is his name. I can show you my notes for those that want to actually take a copy of them, if you can read them. A bit scribbly, but you might want to... Oh, it's probably all upside down, is it? But these are my notes. And the Lord showed me this, I don't know, about 3 years ago now. And it's exciting to see these things happen. So praise be his name. Glory to him. Bye for now.